Welcome to today's video. We're unpacking one of the most misunderstood parts of U.S. visa processing, 221G, administrative processing, and how your digital footprint can trigger deeper checks. To set the stage, we'll explain what a 221G actually means, why social media is increasingly reviewed, and the crucial do's and don'ts that can prevent delays. As we move through the chapters, we'll also show diagrams that map the process, timelines to set expectations, and a practical action plan to help you navigate the wait strategically. Finally, we'll test your understanding with quick quizzes and wrap up with key takeaways. Here is our roadmap. First, we will define 221G and administrative processing. Next, we will discuss how digital scrutiny, especially social media, fits into modern vetting. Then, we will cover the counterintuitive but essential rule against sending unsolicited documents or emails. After that, we'll identify common signals that your case is undergoing internal checks. Subsequently, we'll provide a practical action plan and realistic timelines. To reinforce learning, quick quizzes will follow. Finally, we'll consolidate everything with key takeaways and a wrap-up. Before we begin, a brief disclaimer. This video provides general information and educational content. It is not legal advice. Individual circumstances vary, and consular officers have broad discretion. Always follow the instructions given to you by the consular post and consult a qualified immigration attorney for guidance specific to your situation. With that clarified, let's proceed. Let's clarify what 221G means. When you receive a 221G slip, your case is paused for further review. This is not a final refusal. It's especially common for categories like the J1 exchange visitor visa and other categories where applicants may work in sensitive or technical fields. The delay is most often due to interagency security and background checks. If the officer retained your passport and did not ask for additional documents, it usually indicates that once checks clear, your visa can be printed without you taking further action. Therefore, patience is not just recommended. It is the core strategy during this stage. Modern administrative processing often includes scrutiny of your online presence. Consular officers can review publicly available social media, even if you did not list your handles explicitly on the DS-160. If your officer confirmed your social media and advised you to keep profiles public, it is a strong indicator that your case has moved into an internal security review phase. This is routine and not necessarily negative. What matters most is that your online presence is consistent with the information you presented in your application and interview. This part is counterintuitive but essential. Do not send unsolicited documents or emails unless specifically requested on the 221G slip or via an official follow-up from the consulate. Administrative processing is driven by interagency checks, not by missing paperwork. Introducing documents that were not requested can complicate internal workflows and slow your case. Instead, rely on the official status checker and wait for explicit contact. If the officer kept your passport and did not ask for anything specific, assume the delay is due solely to internal checks. Here is a direct comparison. Proactive emails might feel productive, but in practice they add noise and rarely accelerate interagency checks. They can introduce confusion into internal pipelines and even lead to duplicate or conflicting case notes. Conversely, strategic patience aligns with how interagency checks actually proceed. By minimizing friction and avoiding unnecessary inputs, you allow the system to complete its work efficiently. In most cases, resolution occurs without additional applicant action. This flowchart illustrates the key stages after your visa interview. First, the officer decides whether to approve immediately or to place the case in 221G. If approved on the spot, it proceeds to visa printing and passport return. If 221G is issued, the case enters internal security checks that can involve interagency querying. During this period, status updates may appear periodically, but often do not provide granular details. From there, the process reaches a result gate. If cleared, the case moves to printing and passport return. If additional documents are requested, the applicant submits only those requested items, after which the case returns to internal checks. A side path highlights that when the officer confirms your social media handles, that is a signal the case is entering deeper internal review. A caution note indicates that unsolicited emails or documents do not speed up the process and may add noise. There are several common signals that your case has moved into internal checks. If the officer kept your passport, It usually means that once checks clear, they can proceed to printing without needing you back at the window. If the officer confirmed your social media and asked that profiles be public, that suggests your digital footprint will be reviewed. If your 221G notice did not request any specific documents and your online status simply reads administrative processing for an extended period, that is entirely consistent with interagency checks in progress. This table decodes common online status messages. Administrative processing typically indicates that interagency checks are underway. The correct action is to wait and avoid sending unsolicited materials. Refused under 221G is a temporary refusal pending either additional checks or requested documents. You should follow the slip's instructions precisely. Issued means printing is in progress or completed, so prepare for passport return. Application received reflects post-interview intake or a system synchronization step, which is normal. Ready usually pertains to pre-interview or re-queued cases, and no action is required unless you receive contact from the consulate. Here is a practical plan while you wait. First, set a weekly reminder and limit yourself to checking the official status only once or twice per week to reduce stress. Second, avoid sending unsolicited emails or uploads unless the consulate explicitly requests them. Third, keep your social media profiles stable, accurate, and consistent with your application. This is not the time for significant edits that could introduce inconsistencies. Fourth, organize your documents so that you can respond quickly if a targeted request arrives. Fifth, keep travel plans flexible and avoid non-refundable commitments until you have the visa in hand. Sixth, if a posted service level timeframe has clearly passed, consider one polite inquiry through the official channel. Finally, for complex or adverse updates, consult a qualified immigration attorney. This mind map breaks down the typical areas of a digital footprint review. At the center is the applicant's digital footprint. One branch is identity consistency, covering names, aliases, employment, and education, which should align with the DS-160 and interview statements. Another branch is public posts, looking at the general tone and any potential red flags. The social graph considers visible associations or organizations. Technical signals include handle history and account age. Professional presence includes sites like LinkedIn or academic profiles. Finally, privacy settings matter primarily to the extent that you are asked to keep profiles public during review. Overall, this is a routine, structured review rather than a presumption of wrongdoing. This timeline is illustrative and not predictive. It begins with the interview day when 221G is issued. In weeks 1 to 2, interagency checks are initiated, and the online status may show little movement. Weeks 3 through 6 often involve ongoing background queries and occasional automated status updates. Weeks 6 to 10 or more can vary significantly depending on your case specifics and the agencies involved. Once clearance is achieved, the status typically changes to issued, followed by printing and passport return. The key takeaway is that durations vary widely, so patience remains essential. Here is a concise Markdown-style cheat sheet. First, the golden rule is to avoid sending unsolicited documents or emails. Next, if your passport was kept, presume internal checks are underway and wait for explicit contact. On social media, keep profiles public if advised, and ensure consistency with your application. A practical tip is to set a weekly reminder to check your status and avoid daily refreshes. As for when to write, do so only if requested, or if an official time frame has clearly passed. Finally, avoid red flags such as inconsistent profiles, multiple unverified aliases, or sudden major edits during the review period. Quiz time. The question is, if your officer confirmed your social media handles and asked you to keep them public, what is the most likely implication? Option A, the case is denied and you should appeal immediately. Option B, the case is in an internal security review that includes digital footprint checks. Option C, the officer lost your file and needs you to resend documents. Option D, you must delete your profiles to avoid scrutiny. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. When officers verify your social media and ask you to keep profiles public, it typically indicates that your case has entered an internal security review that includes digital footprint checks. This is routine and not inherently negative. Keep your profiles stable and consistent with the information you provided. Second quiz question. What is the best action if you received a 221G with no document request and the consulate kept your passport? Option A. Send every document you have to show diligence. Option B. Email the consulate every 2 days for updates. Option C. Wait and monitor the official status checker and respond only to explicit requests. Option D. Withdraw your application and reapply next week. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is C. In administrative processing without a document request and with your passport retained, the most effective approach is to wait and monitor the official status checker. Unsolicited emails or documents are unlikely to expedite interagency checks and can potentially complicate the process. These are the essential takeaways. First, 221G is a pause for further checks rather than a final refusal. Second, digital footprint reviews are now routine and not automatically negative. Third, avoid sending unsolicited documents or emails. Fourth, if your passport was kept and no documents were requested, assume internal checks are in progress. Fifth, check your case status periodically and practice patience. Finally, act only on explicit consular requests. To wrap up, understand the process so you can manage expectations. Resist the urge to flood the consulate with unsolicited emails or documents. Keep your online presence consistent with your application, and avoid major changes during review. Follow official instructions precisely, and be ready to respond quickly if requested. Above all, prepare, stay organized, and wait for the green light. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you navigate 221G and administrative processing, please like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more clear, practical guidance. In the comments, tell us how long you have been in administrative processing and what strategies have helped you cope during the wait.